Hello, welcome back. So in today's video, I'll be talking about high quality compounding machine stocks that you guys should be owning. So in today's video, we'll be covering a few things. We'll be covering the high quality compounders, FICO, as well as United Health, and some questions that you guys have left me in the comment section below. So let's talk about the traits of your compounding machine first. Your compounding machine must have all these traits over here. So the company must be in a monopoly or duopoly and face little competition. And besides that, the company must have one of these traits, which is your high switching costs, intellectual property, network effects, recurring revenue, as well as brand value. So let's talk about a monopoly first and what it is. So a monopoly is a company that holds the entire market share of an industry. And when that happens, it also means that the company has very little competition. So little competition leads to more profits for the company because the company is able to take the entire market share of the industry, whereas more competition leads to less profit for each company in the sector. So for example, let's say your airlines industry. Your airlines industry has been growing rapidly over the past 20 years, but the problem is there are too many companies in that same sector, and that's why you're not seeing any standalone airlines company that is growing rapidly. So that is usually what you don't want. You want a company that faces little competition so that they can take the entire market share as their profits. So let's talk about the first trait of a high quality compounding machine, and that is none other than high switching costs. So Microsoft over here is an example of a company that has high switching costs, and year to date it's up around 9%. So what exactly is high switching costs? High switching costs refers to the company's ability to lock in their customers. So think about Microsoft, for example. Microsoft is able to bundle all their different products into one entire bundle and sell it to their consumers as that bundle. So Microsoft, they don't sell the best product, they sell the best bundle, and that's why you're seeing Zoom not being able to compete with Microsoft, because Zoom doesn't have a package that they can sell, whereas Microsoft has the package that they can sell to all their consumers as one whole bundle. So what Microsoft does best is they will always incorporate all your different new features, like for example, Microsoft Teams. I'm sure Microsoft Teams isn't as good as Zoom, but Microsoft Teams just does enough of a job for it to be able to incorporate into the entire package of Microsoft. And that is usually why people cannot switch out of Microsoft to other products, because Microsoft offers the best deal as a whole. Next trait that your high quality compounding machines have is intellectual property, so it's IP. So for example, ASML has the lithography machines, the EUV machines, and only one company in this world, which is ASML, is able to manufacture it. So ASML this year is down around 3%, and from its April low, it's actually up around 20% already. This company is currently trading now at a 34 times earnings, and given its monopoly, I think it deserves a higher multiple at this growth rate, of course. So when a company has intellectual property for a method to produce a product that people need, there's no choice for the consumer, and this also gives the producer pricing power because they'll be able to increase the prices of their products and people will still have to buy from them. So take for example ASML, one machine itself, the high-NA EUV machines, they cost around $350 million to $400 million already, up from the previous one which was in the hundreds. So ASML has incredible pricing power. They can increase prices on their products and people will still need it because it is an essential product. Same for FICO. FICO is another company that has been able to increase prices at a rapid rate. So they recently just increased their prices from $3.50 to $5 for credit score. And that is around a 40% increase. And people will still have to use it because there's no other credible score out there that can replace FICO. So this is normally accompanied by high pricing power, the ability to increase prices above inflation, and that is usually what you want to have in your companies. You want companies with high pricing power so that they can beat the markets in times of inflation and still raise prices in times of deflation and economic weakness to adjust for volume decreases. So second trait, intellectual property. Next trait is your network effects. So network effects is when more people leads to more people leads to more people. So for example, over here you have Meta. Meta is a company that is up around 7% year to date, currently trading at around a 25 times earnings. So network effects is probably one of the most irreplaceable mode because more people using leads to more people using, which leads to even more people using, and this is a virtuous cycle for the company and no one is able to escape it. So imagine a world without Instagram today, imagine a world without Facebook today. I think it is almost impossible for anyone to imagine it, and that's why Meta today is one of the biggest companies out there, even though they only operate a social media platform. Next trait of a compounding machine is recurring revenue. So for example, S&P Global over here is a company that has recurring revenue. Currently this year, the stock is up around 4% year to date and currently trading at around 40 times earnings. So for S&P Global over here, when a company has an element of recurring revenue, it leads to predictable cash flows, meaning to say even when an economic downturn comes, this company will still be able to expect stable cash flows coming into the business as earnings, and this is normally the trait for resilient businesses. So when you want to buy stocks with recurring revenue, buy stocks that has an element of recurring revenue because it leads to predictability, it leads to stability for the business as a whole as well. Last one is brand value. So Coke over here is a company that has brand value. Currently this year, it's up around 16% and the stock is trading at around 28 times earnings. So the brand value alone drives sales and people will pay more for the brand. So think for example, your Hermes and your Kelly and Birkin bags. Your Kelly and your Birkin bags, they are priced at thousands and thousands of dollars and people still pay for it because of the brand itself. People are buying for the brand name, not so much the actual product. And that is an incredibly powerful trait for all your companies. Think Coke, for example, with their drinks, they will probably be able to increase prices and people will still pay for it because Coke is unique. Coke is different from all your different other drink brands. And Coke has latent pricing power, meaning to say in the future, if it ever needs to, it can increase the prices of their products and people still won't pull back on spending. So brand value over here is also one of the traits, although it's one of the weaker traits out of the entire list over here. So besides those traits, there are some metrics that you can look out for as well. And the metric that I'm talking about today is ROIC. So ROIC represents return on invested capital, how much money a company makes on investing in its business. So when the ROIC is greater than the weighted average cost of capital, which is the bond yield price itself, it creates intrinsic value for the business because it is able to generate returns of maybe 10-20% or so on borrowed money that requires a 4% interest rate. And typically when you want to buy stocks with high returns on invested capital. So this is what Chuck Arkwright has to say about companies with high ROIC.
As to what it is that's going on. A great example of that would be a company like MasterCard or Visa. They're earning returns on capital that, as we say, you could cut in half twice and it would still be above average for an American business. So something extraordinary is going on there.
Right.
And the company does not talk about what that is. They never talk about it. We don't talk about it, but we spend a lot of time thinking about it, trying to understand what it is, whether or not it's likely to continue, that sort of stuff.
Why don't you like to talk about it?
I don't think we're giving away anything, but I just want to make sure we're not.
Okay.
It's just that simple, you know. And so the other side of that is a company like that earns rates of returns on the owner's capital that are so extraordinary that they don't have a good opportunity to reinvest their free cash flow in ways to continue to earn those above average rates. So what they do with their free cash flow is they buy in shares, they pay a cash dividend, they make small acquisitions in technology around their space, but it's a challenge to utilize all the free cash they generate. And unlike our ideal company is one that can keep reinvesting and earn outrageous returns on capital.
Right.
Next portion, I'll be talking about United Healthcare stock. So United Healthcare in the past 6 months is down around 50% and currently now it's trading at a 12 times earnings. In the past 5 days, it's down around 10%. So for United Health, we've seen a lot of insiders buying. So you're seeing the CEO as well as the CFO buying into this stock. So you have Hemsley over here buying around $25 million worth of shares. And then you have the CFO as well buying around $5 million of shares. So for United Health, when owning the stock, remember the risk of the company. Insurance is low margin, that's one. Healthcare has regulation. And fraud in Medicare, which is what everyone is speculating about right now, will tarnish the brand. So it's a company that is trading at an extremely low valuation, but the risks are obvious as well. So when you're owning this stock, just pay attention to all this risk. It is a company that is trading at an extremely cheap valuation now. Could be an opportunity that we look back on in the next few years. But of course, there is also a possibility of this company basically collapsing because of a Medicare fraud. But that is unlikely to happen. If you're to look back at Humana as well as CVS, when they had the fraud cases and fraud issues, all they did was they paid a fine. So I expect that to be the same thing for United Health, but of course timing could be a problem because the stock could face a lot more downside in terms of its share price if those fraud cases come to light. Next portion, I'll be talking about FICO. So FICO is down around 30% in the past 5 years. It's quite incredible. And this company now is trading at a 65 times earnings. So even after dropping 30%, this stock is still trading at a quite high valuation. So for FICO, why exactly is the stock coming down? The stock is coming down because Bill Putte, your director of FHFA, he came out and said that there will be changes made to the mortgage system in 1 to 3 weeks or so, and that could adversely affect FICO. So for FICO, the stock is getting interesting. The FHFA, they can't limit FICO's pricing power because this is not a DOJ antitrust lawsuit. The FHFA can make changes within their own agency to change the requirements whenever someone gets a mortgage or housing plan. So FICO can still raise prices as and when they want to. But of course, there's a counter argument to this as well. So FICO may be wary of regulation and slow down their price increases. That is one element to it. You have the FHFA introducing alternatives to limit FICO scores, which could hurt volumes as well. So they're planning to reduce the scores required through a buy merge, meaning to say currently now you need scores from all three credit bureaus, so Experian, TransUnion, as well as Equifax. But if they were to shift to a buy merge, it means that you will only need 2 credit scores instead of 3 to get a mortgage loan from a mortgage lender. So this decrease in your pricing power due to regulations as well as volume could be a double whammy for the stock. This could lead to a multiple compression as well because the perceived pricing power of this stock could be a lot lesser than what was initially expected. So for FICO, this is why it's getting interesting. So mortgage lenders will likely still make their consumers pay for the third score despite the buy merge requirements. The housing market is depressed right now with high rates. A decrease in rates will spur higher volumes in FICO scores. The company has an incredible moat. It's almost a monopoly, and I'll be interested at around $1,400 a share, which is around 10% down from its current price. I think with this bad sentiment, the stock will definitely get there. I'll be monitoring this one over the next 3 weeks. When he releases a change, I expect FICO to have a lot more downside, and that is when I'll be entering into this stock if it hits the requirements that I want it to be. Last portion, I'll be talking about some questions that you guys have left me in the comment section. So the first one, it says, can you share your inputs on CATL, the leading EV battery maker? What valuation to use and is it attractive to buy? So I spoke to a businessman before. He had some form of connection with BYD. He had some businesses with BYD before, and his input on this is BYD has the greatest technology in terms of your battery making process, and you have other companies as well apart from BYD that is creating batteries for your EV cars. So for me, I think this industry itself, the battery making companies, they are highly commoditized. I mean, CATL, they probably don't have anything proprietary. And for CATL, unless they have a car to sell, I don't think it is a company that I would like to own. BYD is the leader in the space. BYD has a direct product that they can make from the EV batteries that they create themselves. So for me, CATL is an avoid. I'm not sure how monopolistic this stock is, but just based on the fact that your EV batteries, they are highly commoditized, I would avoid this stock. Next one, what do you think about Reddit? Do you think AI search will really stop the company from growing? So Reddit is a social media company and I've seen a lot of views using it, but I'm not too sure what the mode of the business is. I don't personally use a lot of Reddit, so I'm not too sure how sustainable the growth can be. But for Reddit, they have around 10% of their revenues coming from Google, and they're ranked a lot higher in Google search because they had a deal with Google to basically give Google information to train their machines. So for Reddit, I think the valuation now is quite steep. It's a company that can for sure grow over the next few years if people continually use their products. But I think number one, Reddit is too reliant on Google, and number two, the valuation itself is just too steep for me to enter. And I want companies with a history of strong growth before I start investing into it. So Reddit is a company that I would avoid. It is a bit too speculative at this point. Last one, can you do Baidu? So Baidu is a company in China. What they do is they're similar to Google. They have their Baidu search platform. But the problem with Baidu is you have a lot of different search engines outside of Baidu itself. And for Baidu, if you have to look into the fundamentals itself, I believe the earnings has been dropping over the past few years. So Baidu is currently trading at less than 1x price to book. It's a company that is deep value. I'm not too sure if the assets are under intangibles. I have to look that one up. But Baidu, it's not a company that fulfills my criteria of a predictable business. It's a deep value play for sure. You can make money by buying it and then selling it in the next year. But it doesn't meet my requirements that I want for high quality business that has strong growth ahead. Baidu is a company that is facing a lot of competition, especially in China. So for me, it's an avoid. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have found this one useful and invest safe.